does the thing. It's actually not bad. Like just in a one-on-one conversation, it'll record our audio stream separately. Similar to what the Discord bot used to do, except the Discord bot's dead now. The developer got tired of maintaining it.
Well,
let me correct myself. The developer got tired of having to constantly adjust to the way that Discord kept modifying its API and breaking how his bot connected.
Well, you know what? That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep current when people keep changing their platform.
Yeah, it's really hard to stand in one place when they keep yanking the rug out from under you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what do you do? Well, welcome back to another episode of Scouting Stuff. We've got two of us this evening. We're doing another remote recording. So at this end of the internet, it's me, Scouter Ken, coming to you live from my furnace room. And over on the other end of the pipe is Scouter Colin.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, I think this is our first episode of 2022 that we've done together.
Well, it didn't help that January was kind of a thing.
Yeah, January happened, and
happy birthday, by the way, belated, of course.
Yeah, thanks. Both of us have crossed the big 4-0 in COVID times. And, yeah. So that's happened. But
was it a good day?
I mean, it ultimately it was, right? Like the evening Google Meet thing was a bit of a bust. But
yeah,
honestly,
sorry about.
Oh, no, that's fine. Like, I know you weren't feeling well. But I mean, like, realistically, you know what? I was actually getting towards on the actual, like, day, I was kind of just like, like, I don't even really need to, like, see anybody today. Grace and I went out for dinner, and that was, like, good enough for me. I don't know, like, some people like a big blowout birthday. Like, you've thrown some really great parties. And Grace likes to do something that involves as many people as she can get under whatever circumstances we're operating under. And I'm just not. I do it kind of out of like social obligation. I'll try and put something together, but I'm just like, whatever.
Right.
So, it was a smaller affair. The kids made cake and we had dinner on the day. And then, Grace and I went out for dinner on the Friday, and it was like, that was nice. That was just enough.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I was not doing so good.
No, you were not having a good that week.
No. I am not sure if I had the infamous Omicron variant, but all signs, if I shake the magic 8 ball, it would be all signs point to yes. Other than I wasn't able to test for it, so I just have to deduce that I was hanging around work, and some of the work folk came into contact with it, and it kind of spread through the office fairly quick. So,
I mean, that does indeed point to yes, but it is worth noting that there was a seemingly rather nasty cold going around at the same time. We got hit a couple of weeks later with said nasty cold. And I mean, do you need rapid tests, by the way? Because they've been handing them out like candy at school, at the kids' school.
That's what I've heard.
I'll run you a box, because I don't even know what I'm going to do apart from like start an eBay side business. Like, it's just terrible how many I have.
Well, I was gonna the next time I need some, I will let you know. But I was actually talking to a client, and he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, the kids are bringing them home from school, and I don't know. So he's like, if you need one, I got one. And I'm like, I think that ship has sailed, to be honest with you. So,
But the reason I mention it is because, like, we got hit with something nasty, took us out one by one. I kind of managed to stay standing through all of it, but like Grace was in bed for a few days. Most of the kids kind of took turns taking up residence on the couch.
Yeah.
But after like the second or third negative test, we're like, well, we should really stop wasting these things, because I guess this ain't it. So, of course, that was when we only had like 2 boxes. Now we have 10.
Yeah, you have a small hoard of them. But
Yeah. Well, and I mean, also because like my wife gets them at work too, right?
Oh, yeah, right.
Medical professional. So,
well, for me, it was.
I'm glad you pulled through. I'm glad you're feeling much better.
Yeah. Well, I like I said, I can only deduce it from the fact that I hadn't gone anywhere except for work and home, and people at work had it, and so I was like, well, but it was an uncomfortable 24 hours, let me tell you.
Well, I mean, on the plus side, it was only 24 hours, so that's good. But yeah, it's never fun to be sick anyways, but especially not with something new.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, right? Everyone has a different experience from the discussion. We were all comparing notes at work.
Man.
It's like, what did you have? Well, I had those, but I also had this.
Oh, boy.
And then I lost my taste, or my sense of, my taste and smell. And I'm like, oh. It's like, yeah, I drank some hot sauce just for the fun of it. I'm like, why would you do that?
Because it wasn't going to hurt anyways.
Because this will be the only time I can do it, and it won't burn.
Oh, man.
Well, your choice, buddy.
I mean, it might numb your tongue, but I don't think it numbs your stomach.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Like, hard pass. So, but anyways.
Well, you pulled through, so awesome.
Yes.
I mean, I kind of lucked out because, of course, Scouts Canada had their Claim the Flame thing they were doing, so they came on to talk about that, and then they hooked me up with Siobhan to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. So some good content to start the year, but yeah, it's good to be talking with you again.
Yes, I'm pretty excited about it. I've been, we kind of missed the last time, but at some point we'll be able to, sit in person again and chat, because that's always better.
It is. It really is. My wife was just saying goodnight here. She's out in Vancouver right now. Giving her sister a hand. So.
Gone out for school or?
No. So her sister and her husband out there just welcomed their second kid into the world. And
okay.
Yeah, the 1 to 2 transition is actually, that's probably the steepest part of the kid having difficulty curve.
Yes.
So
what's the age difference? Like, if you don't mind me asking personal questions of your extended family.
4-ish.
Like, what's
about 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So not horrible.
No, but they, it is a struggle.
Would you say it's harder? Would you say it's harder the closer they are in years, or easier?
No, it's purely a numbers game. 1 to 2 is hard. 2 to 3 is not as hard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is the man that doesn't have kids, so.
I speak from experience.
Yeah. I was going to say, you on the other hand have all of that experience.
Yes.
I not so much.
Yeah. So she went out there to help out. She actually, like, literally, I mean, I drove her to the airport, but it would have, as one who flies occasionally, I know full well what a cab to the airport costs from our house.
Yes.
And the seat sale she got with WestJet was ridiculous.
She paid in like $69 range or like the $70 range?
Yeah, about that. Like, she paid less for the round trip flight than she would have paid to cab to the airport and back.
That's ridiculous. Well, I know that I've dabbled with the looking at points for flying versus actually paying for the fare for the seat sale.
Yep.
And sometimes it works out to about the same. It doesn't matter what you use, the points or the because you have to pay the taxes and whatnot on the.
No, that's what I mean. Even with the taxes and all of the extra surcharges.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, it was kind of in that, I don't know. She booked it fairly early on, and it was like kind of in that time when, they were nobody was flying anyways. And so they were just like, please do anything to keep us in business.
Yeah. Here, we're giving away our seats. Take them.
They pretty much were. So, she
Well,
nabbed so good for her. She's out there right now. So just hanging out with the kids. What do you do?
That's awesome. And she's left you at home in charge?
Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm
we know
clearly
who's
the one
really
in charge around here.
of your house right now, but
yeah.
you're just running interference right now. That's what.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, her mother is here as well, and that is a welcome thing. So I was actually able to, be a functional and productive employee of my employer today, which is good. But don't just have to. Anyways, so that's where things are at. Cool.
Well, I'm curious. What did you want to talk about today? Aside from, there's lots, but did you have something in particular in mind?
Well, you know what? I was going through the old ideas documents, and I mean, I'm going to have to prune these things back. A lot of this stuff's no longer relevant. But one thing stuck out at me. So, and the Facebook page in particular is not being updated anymore, but there was a Baden-Powell Facebook page, which may have been run by some scouts out of Kenya, but I'm not sure. But at any rate, one of the things they posted, I saved in the ideas list, and I thought to myself, this might actually be this is sort of more of a philosophical discussion than anything else, but maybe it's worth exploring a little bit because, and you know what, I only have the short version of the quote here on my phone, so let me pull up the full version of the quote. So they started with a Baden-Powell quote. Scouting is a brotherhood, a scheme which, in practice, disregards differences of class, creed, country, and color. Through the undefinable spirit that pervades it, the spirit of God's gentleman. So that's Baden-Powell. And the question that the Baden-Powell Facebook page posed was, how has your exposure to scouts from other countries influenced your worldview? And I mean, I don't know, there's lots of different directions we could go. I am honestly, and at the same time, there's lots of other things you write that we could talk about, especially like in light of, half of the Canadian provinces and a bunch of U.S. states starting to significantly roll back their restrictions. But there's been no new guidance from Scouts Canada, so I don't really want to wade into those waters yet without some idea of where we're going.
Yeah, exactly. It's all speculation at this point.
Exactly. I know my kids I know my kids can now optionally wear a mask when they go back to school on Monday, but they probably still will. But it's like, it's so much is up in the air right now with that I don't care. But then this one kind of just, I was going through the list and I'm like, oh yeah, this one's tricky. This one stuck out a little bit.
I like a good philosophical discussion, Scouter Ken.
Yeah. Plus, we get to reminisce about like WJ and all the rest. So yeah. Just to restate the question one more time, how has your exposure to scouts from other countries influenced your worldview? I got something if you need a minute.
Well, I'm just, the hamster hasn't been running very hard.
Sorry to drop a heavy one on you. Just right.
It's shaking the cobwebs out and engaging some neurons that haven't been fired for such a long time, right? So
yeah.
Obviously, one gravitates towards the experiences had traveling for WJ. I mean, that, and your experience chatting with scouts from other countries. It's interesting because I think I think we've both experienced that, if you belong to scouting, you usually surround, like, that organization has very like-minded individuals that gravitate towards it, right? So I think you always feel at home in and amongst scouts. Like that's kind of my initial foray into this right now.
No, that's absolutely true. True enough that my wife has remarked on it happening in the past, right? She's like, you are such a wallflower at like and I mean, not so much anymore, right? But like when we started dating, Just like, you are such a wallflower at like family events and whatever else. But I put you in a room full of scouts and you're just like, you've known them for 20 years, even though you met them 5 minutes ago. So that's definitely true. Like, can confirm firsthand.
Yeah. I think it's the act of traveling and just conversation, exchanging ideas and that kind of stuff that does expand one's worldview. When you live a very insular life, getting that experience from, not seeing what's beyond your own four walls kind of thing, or, take that analogy and extrapolate it to however far you want to go. But if you don't, take the opportunities to converse with someone from a different country, you don't know their experiences, right? You don't know. So it gives you perspective for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, you kind of touched on the two things that occurred to me as well. And maybe I'll attack the second one first, because that kind of dovetails nicely with what you just said, which is that, like, it really meeting scouts from other countries, and then also just exploring, like through the Scouting 5 news and stuff like that, exploring what scouts from other countries do, but also having met them in person or met them through other means like Joe to Jody, and just, being able to converse with scouts from a bunch of different places in the world, really has, for me, hammered home, like, sort of like you said, or, you talked about like sort of an insular life, and that's true. But just, it makes me think of just like how darn good we have it, just life in general here in Canada, And I mean, I don't say that I know people are legitimately struggling with all manner of things. I am too. And I don't say that to trivialize that. But, I look at our scouts or our Cubs, and like, tomorrow the scouts are going to be doing a day camp out at, at one of the scout properties in the area. They're going to be going snowshoeing and doing camp cooking and all of the rest of that good stuff, right? And that's going to be a fun day, and they're going to do a lot of stuff with their outdoor adventure skills, and like, so there's going to be a good deal of scoutcraft in the stuff that they tackle for 6 hours out in the snow, and that's going to be great. But equally, there's other scout groups in the world right now who are, coming off the end of helping their community respond to a typhoon, or helping their community rebuild after some disaster, or fighting and doing advocacy against cultural practices that are like discriminatory, or even like involve like mutilating people. Like, just they're the things that scouts in other parts of the world are facing and doing are, in some cases, like, they're literally life and death stuff, right? And they're chipping in and helping out and doing what scouts do best. And I mean, I wouldn't wish that on our scouts, but it does kind of illustrate to me that, like, wow, yeah, like life in Canada is very, very fortunate. And there are places in the world where life is a significantly larger struggle. And scouts are right in the middle of that, doing their level best to make it less of a struggle, right?
Yep.
So that's the first thing. That was the second thing. And then the first thing was, like you said, like, it's just at the same time, given those wild differences in circumstances, you can kind of put us all in a room together, and we all have a common framework that we're operating from, sort of not necessarily always a common temperament, but, like, scouting is itself a commonality that we have. And the principles of scouting tend to be fairly consistent around the entire world. And the sort of people that are drawn to those principles tend to be similar kinds of people around the world. People who excel in scouting tend to be very similar kinds of people, no matter where they are from in the world. And so, yeah, you can walk into a circumstance like a jamboree where, literally there's some German scouts over there and some Swiss scouts over there and some Kenyan scouts over there. And you've never met any of these people before in your life, but you can hit it off with them like you've known them for years.
Well, I mean, it always helps to have like, a friendly competition.
Yeah. How high can you fly your kite?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The mad scramble to find more dental floss.
Yeah, that's right.
The helicopter was the best.
It was the best. The dollar store kite. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we've told the story before, but the quick recap for anybody who's new enough to the podcast that they haven't heard this before. So we're at WJ 2007, Colin and I and a bunch of other guys. We're all in Rovers at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a kite. And it's like this dollar store. Was it a Canadian flag kite? I don't remember.
No, but we put a little Canadian flag on it.
We had a little Canadian flag on the string somewhere. So anyways, we're flying this kite, as you do. And this other rover crew from another country starts flying their kite because they apparently also had one. Or maybe they ran into a nearby town to grab one. I don't even remember.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a kite. And theirs was a little higher than ours. So then it became a competition of adding more string to get the kite higher and higher and higher. And eventually we're resorting to like using dental floss and whatever else we can find to get our kite.
There was one scouter that was leaving that day that had a roll of like 500 meters worth of dental floss or something like that. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah. So we're just adding more and more string to this thing. Really good sheet bend practice, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and strong dental floss, I might add.
Well, it is. I mean, it is, right? You ever tried to actually just like rip dental floss without that little metal tooth? It does not play nice.
No.
So yeah, you got, I think the other rovers eventually conceded the match. But we had the darn kite.
we kept the kite in the air until the wind currents or the air currents that were up there stopped. And then it was a mad scramble to bring this thing down because we had to use the field that all the entertainment was going on in.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there wasn't much going on at the time. We were able to like run 500 meters out to the trees and back. Yeah.
Except for this one point where some member of the royal family is coming to tour the Jamboree grounds because this is over in England. And they arrive by helicopter and the helicopter like takes off to take them away again. And like, they literally have to sort of like
circumnavigate,
jog a little bit around our kite because it's in the way.
It was entertaining. Yeah. Good times.
Good times. But that too, right? Like, you can just have that sort of spontaneous, there's like a simultaneous friendship and like you say, competition there.
Yeah. And there wasn't anything malicious about the competition. It was just like, oh, I see your game.
It's on now. All right, let's do this.
Yeah. I've upped my ante. Up yours.
Ooh. I mean,
it's all in fun.
Yeah, and it was. And
they even came by and we chatted for a while, as I seem to recall. Like,
yeah, they did. It was a great way to meet people. Well, and lots of people came by and chatted us. Like we had the news lady from somewhere, like Nigeria or somewhere, who's like, just what are you doing? Kind of explained what was going on.
We're having fun, okay?
It's just a very, 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 very particular kind of very formalized fun. And other groups are coming by like, oh, nice kite. But like,
you see that little dot up there? That's the kite.
That's the kite. The smaller dot's the Canadian flag. Just so you know, it's ours.
Just below it. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I mean, so many other memories come out of that, right? Like I remember, like the event I was working at, we had some Swiss rovers that were there and, we got on pretty good. And I mean, they were friendly enough. There's like two girls from Switzerland. And I mean, they were good fun. We were all having just a blast hanging out, doing our event. And a few days in, they arranged with because some of the different national contingents had like meal tents so you could explore traditional cuisines of their culture.
Yeah.
So they actually arranged they booked us a time where we had the whole Swiss cooking pavilion to ourselves. And they served us like fondue, and it was it was so good. Or the coming back onshore, right? Coming back a few years earlier. And I don't think you were at CJ97, but of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the cake.
Yes. there is quite the legend about the cake. So
yeah, well, and
it's kind of got its own lore to it. I think at this point
it does. The actual execution is much less glamorous. Mostly it involves us being 14-year-old boys meeting some cute girls from another scout group from Ontario. And simultaneously wanting to, bake a cake at camp. And these two things got fused. But anyways.
It's kind of like the land of yellow in that regard. It's like how the story got embellished over the years.
Yes, it did take on a very legendary quality. Honestly, though, the story that I'm surprised didn't take on, the story from CJ97 that I'm surprised didn't take on a more legendary quality was the storm. But again, like this is sort of, one of those examples of how when you're all there in a scouting context to do scouting stuff, it helps. I don't want to say it. I mean, I guess in a way it does. I guess in a way, break down boundaries is the right way to put it. And I want to make sure that I kind of, I guess I have to pad that statement a little bit, right? But, under normal circumstances, I probably wouldn't just randomly rush into someone's tent at 2 a.m. But, in that circumstance, when the next group over, their tents all got blown down and ours were still up.
Yeah.
That's what they did because it was pouring down rain and they didn't have a tent to stay in anymore and mine was still standing. So all of a sudden I have, some random girl crawling into my tent and then, another scout after that. And it's like, hey, how you all doing? Or a venturer rather. We were all venturers in that part of in that sub camp.
Yeah.
But, and then of course, after the rain had abated, us all pitching in to help everybody get their stuff back up. And just, those opportunities to, if there was any tensions or rivalries there, anything like that, like it all just fades away. Right. And you're just like, what, let's just get you back in your tent so that, you can get up in the morning and keep doing what we're all here to do. It's a jamboree. Let's have fun.
Well, at that World Jamboree that we were at, same kind of thing. Windstorm had blown through and essentially tents, like the garage package tents were all blown down and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're expecting youth right away and that kind of stuff. And this speaks to kind of the work ethic and that kind of stuff of scouts, because everybody just jumped into action and was like helping each other out where they could. And if they couldn't, or if they didn't know exactly what to be doing, they were asking people that looked like they needed help if they needed help and that kind of thing, right? So it's, it's a kind of a feel-good moment there.
Yep. And then, of course, my own travels outside of a scouting context, right? Obviously, travel for work. And I've gotten into that habit. I mean, it's been a while now, but I've gotten into that habit of reaching out to scout groups and just being able to show up with this or that scout group in wherever I am, the US, Ireland, other parts of Canada. And you just fit right in, right? And I mean, maybe there's differences. Like, the American scouts, they usually have questions. The Irish scouting program is nearly identical to ours in terms of its implementation. Feels very familiar. The American one is more different. And so they do have questions, but sometimes. But I mean, like, whatever, you can just show up and whatever they're doing, you can just roll right into, right? Like it's, oh, cool. We're doing that. All right. I'm down. Let's go. Actually, I was going through some stuff. You on the, obviously Colin and I are talking via Zoom, so he can see this. But
oh yes, yep.
This is a origami dragon made from a napkin, and it was made for me by a scout at while I was down in Bismarck, North Dakota. I got invited to attend a blue and gold banquet there, and then kind of in that same time frame, I got invited to attend like another ceremony as well. And so I was just chatting with this scout, and his mom was one of the scout leaders. So we were kind of just all three sitting at a table having a discussion. and he folded me this origami dragon, and I tucked it into something, and I found it just recently again in my badge box, right?
Mm.
I don't think I've been to North Dakota since 2019, but it's in pretty good shape. So, but just like, being able to just, like I said, walk right in, and I've never been to a blue and gold banquet before, but it felt like I'd been to a dozen when I went to that first one,
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of the way it is, that instant commonality with people. And at the same time, again, just seeing the different circumstances that people are in, even if we're, like set aside the groups out there that are responding to natural disasters, right? Like just the different circumstances that scouting happens in, even in North America. If you're living in a very fortunate circumstance, it really, really helps illustrate that. And it gives you some perspective on, this is, I think for me, it gives me some perspective on, just the fragility of this existence, right? That we have in Canada. Like it's not how you and I live life has not been the common story of humanity for most of humanity's timeline. And it was not an easily attained thing. And it's very grounding at times to, see people who are not in that same circumstance, and to be able to share in their experience a little bit at any rate. But also to be able to still have something in common with them, still have something that you can share with them, and also learn from them. It's, there's a lot that happens there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's any kind of adequate answer to the question as posed, but
in answer to the question for us, yes, it has affected our.
Yeah, it has. It has been one hell of a learning curve. One absolute heck of a learning curve.
But I don't know, like for others, do you think they would, I feel like that's our perspective, but like,
I mean, my hope would be that is true for others as well, but then equally too, it is, and I guess maybe this is also an opportunity to really make a plea to others, that, if your group hasn't fostered these occasions to connect with scouts from other parts of the world. And the thing is, if you're fortunate enough to be able to travel, whether that's as part of your job or something you do as a family, or like if you're attending a jamboree, right? So if you're attending a jamboree, that's one thing. Like you are a scout going to a jamboree to do scouting things in a scouting context. That's a very special kind of thing. But, if your family makes a point of traveling to different places, consider reaching out to scout groups in whatever area you're going to. Take an opportunity to meet up with them. I have yet to meet the scout group that is not very, very keen on having visitors from another group, even within Canada, let alone if you're crossing the border, right? They love those opportunities. In fact, for scouts in the US, it's a requirement for them to move up from Webelos to scouts. It is a requirement, it's a requirement for them to achieve, I think, their Arrow of Light, which is like their, I guess the loose equivalent would be the C&E award, the top section award for Cub Scouts here in Canada. It's a requirement for them to achieve Arrow of Light. They have to actually have met and interacted with and learned about scouts and scouting in another country.
No.
So, if you're going to San Diego for a week at Disneyland, I don't know, there's probably a scout group in Anaheim. I'll guarantee you there is. And they might be happy to meet up with you. So that's one thing, right? If you have the opportunity, reach out to other scout groups as you travel. As you have occasion to travel, there's probably a scout group where you're going or nearby. Reach out to them.
Yep.
But then too, even if you're not leaving home, there's scouting focused Facebook groups. There's ScoutLink, and ScoutLink are the ones who have all the infrastructure, IRC and TeamSpeak and everything else for Jota Joti. And obviously take part in Jota Joti. But the thing is, all of that infrastructure is still on, even when Jota Joti isn't happening in October. So, take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Get online, meet some people from other parts of the world and foster those connections, right? Take part in Jota Joti. And there are a number of great opportunities out there to interact with and meet scout groups from other countries, other places, even in Canada, whatever the case may be. Take the opportunity to make those connections because they tend to be pretty darn rewarding, right? Whether that's, you can do Beaver Pen Pals, which we've done in the group in the past with like Joey Scouts in Australia, or, again, online meetups. We've done several of those. Most scout groups have gotten very, very good at setting those up now. And again, especially like the U.S. scout groups, they're constantly looking to make those connections because their Cub Scouts need those connections to rank up. So lots of opportunities there to reach out, and, it will be interesting no matter where you're talking to these scouts, no matter where they're from. It will be interesting to you to learn just what's the same and what's different about their scouting programs, about their circumstances. It will be fascinating every time. So if you have those opportunities, do take advantage of them and go looking for them, because it will blow your mind just, to see how other people do scouting and to see just how much you have in common with people from an area of the world that maybe is totally different from the one that you live in. Well, and on that note, do you have any shout outs, good sir?
Not as such. Nope. I think I'm good.
Oh, I have several.
Oh, okay.
Some of these are quite backdated, and I apologize for not getting to them sooner.
Well, it has been a while, so.
It has been. So I have a couple actually from the Strider. That's his Discord handle. He's with the 2nd Smith Falls Scouting Group.
Right. Yep.
Yes.
I remember the name sounded familiar. So.
And so he's had a couple of things to say. Following up on our Get Your Group Online episode, he reached out and he said, I recently bought our group a domain name and successfully applied for a Microsoft nonprofit tenancy. So the thing that I was talking about doing with Google Workspaces, you can also do with like Microsoft Office and Teams.
Okay.
He continues, at work, I manage our workplace O365. So I've got a background in it. Also, I don't like Google. Now I just need to get another 3 to 4 scouters onboarded so I can have enough time to plan and set it up properly. One easy thing a group can do is register a domain name and point it at their social media site of choice. Ours is pointed at Facebook until I get something better going. So that is another option, right?
Yep.
I remember in that episode I mentioned, I register my domains through Google, so I get Google Sites for free. It's not much, but it's very easy to throw together a basic website that looks all right on desktop and mobile.
Yeah.
But that is definitely another option. Just basically have the domain name redirect to whatever your main online presence is, whether that is Facebook or Instagram or Twitter.com. Yeah. A simple redirection is quite easily set up with most domain name registrars. A little while later, and I don't remember what episode this was in response to, but he later on added, I've got a Subway that I go to specifically because one lady there knows my order exactly. I sometimes get looks from other customers who watch me walk up as she just goes to town on my sandwich without asking any questions. Yep. I tell them she can read my mind.
I feel that. That's
that was probably one of the ones we did at the restaurant there, and you were talking about how you were the regular, and that was probably one of those. Yeah,
you go where everybody knows your name.
You get that. I haven't had that much. I don't go to too many places with any great consistency. Although there was that one Chinese restaurant that we always used to order takeout from, and then we stopped for like 9 months, and then I called them back because we wanted takeout again, and she's just like, "Why haven't you called?"
My eldest sister has that happen for what was it? I think they they have a takeout order on Friday that they order from the same restaurant every time, and nice. when she calls, they rattle off the order to her when she announces her name, and then it's like, "Yep, that's the order. Okay,
nice.
We'll see you soon." It's like,
I guess we do have that. Nice. I guess we do have that here a little bit. There's one restaurant across town that, because of course, like we have a lot of allergy considerations that we have to deal with.
Oh yes, right.
And there's this one place across town that can do a really nice chicken curry that is allergy friendly to my wife's needs. And so every time I call them up, I'm just like, yeah, I need the chicken curry with the fresh tomatoes. She's like, oh yeah, okay, that's you. Okay, cool. Yeah, sure, we can get that for you. Mm-hmm. So it's really nice to have that. And then a couple of more. So another shout out to Scouter Dan Tapley, wrote in a little while ago. And this is actually some news. I got to make sure that it gets into the next Scouting 5 as well. But I'll mention it here. He says, I thought I'd pass on some scouting news. Battlefields Council has joined the Partners for Life with Canadian Blood Services with the goal of having eligible scouting members donate 50 units in 2022. So I think the way this works is that if you happen to be a scouting member and you are given to donating blood, I assume that you can just name drop Battlefields Council and it will count towards their total. And I would assume this applies at any Canadian Blood Services location. I don't know for sure. I'm speculating. But you know what? It certainly can't hurt to try. If you want to give Dan and his group a bit of a leg, or Dan and his council a bit of a leg up in their self-imposed challenge, by all means, consider name dropping Battlefields Council the next time you go to donate blood and see if they can mark that to their credit. And then finally, shout out to my wife and her sister. I just have to, I don't even know how she ended up on the topic of leech therapy. But to be fair, again, my wife, healthcare professional, leech therapy is still something they do, right? Like, I mean, obviously there is the association with medieval medicine, and rightly so, because that's where it came from.
Just a little.
Yeah. But it's still a thing they do today. Because, like as not, leeches actually are really, really good at, I think it's a wound cleaning thing. There's certain kinds of wound cleaning that leeches are very, very good at.
Really?
Yeah. So leech therapy is actually a thing that you will still, under the right circumstances, be able to receive at, insert hospital name here, at least here in Edmonton, the Edmonton region. Probably elsewhere across Canada as well.
I am now educated.
Yeah. So, but for some reason, she and her sister were talking about this, and then all of a sudden, I think it was her sister Mary who asked this initially, but all of a sudden, they were talking on the phone, and all of a sudden, Grace turns around, she's like, "Hey, is there a leech therapy badge in scouting? Because there probably should be." I'm just like, there is not, to my knowledge, a leech therapy badge. There is an emergency skills badge stream. Leech therapy is not one of its requirements. Yeah. I would probably lump that under hobby, if anything, but I don't really know where I'd put that in the program.
Maybe first aid, but I don't know if that's changed.
Well, like I say, I mean, there's the emergency skills badge stream, but I'm pretty sure that they haven't added leech therapy to its checklists. And there's the personal achievement badges, right? Which,
could you be a leech therapist, like a leech therapy therapist?
Yeah, but like, I don't know what I would put that under, right? Like, I mean, like, is that like, do I put that under like community beaver, or is that like hobby? Like, I'm not sure where that goes,
Good question.
Good question. At any rate, the weird things I get asked later on.
You should have said yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what?
Just for fun.
You know what? My default answer is always, I can probably find a way to fit that in, right? Because that's the whole idea of the personal achievement badges not being tied to specific requirements anymore, right? It's choose your own adventure. You define your own badge requirements for the personal achievement stuff. So I'm sure I could fit it in somewhere. I mean, I don't know if I'd want, a 12-year-old administering leech therapy to me. That's a separate set of questions. But
you've cut yourself. You need leech therapy.
You need a leech. This is Sam.
No, I just need a Band-Aid and some disinfectant.
Anyway, so there you go. Weird questions from my end of things. Cool. Well, so that's a good episode to start the year with.
I think so.
All righty. Well, thank you for taking the time. Good to talk to you again.
Don't you have some other shout-outs? Like
yeah, right. Geez, I'm sorry.
The usual suspects.
Yeah, of course. Yes, as always, I should give a shout-out to Scouting Radio for rebroadcasting our episodes to their worldwide scouting audience. If you're listening to us on Scouting Radio right now, like seriously, do consider getting in touch.
Scouter Ken.
Yeah.
To gain some world perspective, how would one get a hold of us these days?
Well, so as always, you can email us. Just go to scoutingstuffpodcast.com and there's actually like a contact form there on the website, or scoutingstuffpodcast@gmail.com or outlook.com. We have options. You can go to scoutingstuffpodcast.com and leave us a voice message. Just look for it's orange now. It used to be blue. I noticed lately that it is orange. I think it has finally started following the color scheme that I have set for the site in general. But now it is an orange microphone button. So look for that. Or, social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SSYSK podcast at Twitter until I can think of a better handle. Scouting Stuff Podcast at Facebook and Instagram. You can join our Discord server. And I have started updating. Since TikTok expanded to allowing 5-minute videos, I have started putting things back on the TikTok profile that I set up for the podcast as well. So I'll make sure that link is included in the show notes.
Are you and I going to take a crack at TikTok dances?
No.
I hear that's a thing.
It is.
That's probably a trend that's passed by.
I think we missed that trend.
I think so too. Now that I've said it, I'm like, I've just dated myself. God.
That was early pandemic. This is late pandemic.
Oh, we missed sea shanties, Scouter Ken. We could have done sea shanties.
We did miss sea shanties. But it's not the same without Mike Apedale.
I'm sure we could have rooked him in.
Yeah. He was
the Barrett's privateer.
Yeah. He was the best shanty guy at WJ Easy.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyways, yeah. All of those means of contacting us, or hey, leave us a review on, just again, you can go to scoutingstuffpodcast.com. You can leave reviews directly on the site, and it'll also link you to other services that support leaving reviews. So iTunes, Podchaser, I think that's it. Anyways, there she be. All right. Well, now, thank you for taking the time. Good to see you again. And we'll have to do this in person at some point. I got to show you the new recording toy, but later. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's boxed away right now. But, and thank you out there for listening. And until next time, be prepared.